hopefully you're familiar with find and replace. Ctrl F is pretty standard common replace, not just in Excel or Microsoft applications, but it's kind of like a universal find most applications you're using. So a lot of us are familiar with that. If you're not, that's okay. By the end of this lesson, you're going to know way more than that anyway. We're going to talk about the find, the repeat find, find and replace, and a targeted find. Probably a little more than that. So you got your standard Ctrl F, which is find. Let's skip down here to find and replace, which a lot of people actually just go Ctrl F to find and then click through the tab to get to the replace button, but you can skip to it right here with Ctrl H. And then repeat find, basically after you do your find, it just does the exact same find and you just find the next value. So that's a pretty cool thing to do. And then for targeted find, basically you're highlighting a selection. So in here, Ctrl A would just do like the immediate table, and then Ctrl F would find anything in that table. You can also use any of our highlighted commands that we talked about earlier, like how to highlight an entire row or an entire column, or just any selection, maybe multiple rows. You just want to search 2 or 3 rows and find everything in those 2 or 3 rows. So you select it and then you press Ctrl F and you only find things in those rows. And then there's the wildcard characters that I'd say underused, but they're big help. So let's dig into that a little bit more. Right? Find and replace. So this is something that's used from Excel to searching through web pages, even searching through a PDF document. So many of you are already familiar with how to do a find and maybe also a find and replace, but we're going to go into a couple more specifics that are going to make us more dangerous, specifically to Excel, and a lot of these can be carried in those other applications as well. So let's start off with a basic find. Ctrl F. Let's go to the region. These are international regions, so we're looking for, I think, Philippines. So we can always click this button or press the OK. Let's just press enter. And we're finding the next. So we're going through finding next. Now we can close this window, and if we press the repeat F4, it can keep us repeating finding the next. So what happens if we click on this formatting right here? Made this. So now if we press F4, the last function is highlight. So that's what we're repeating now. However, Excel did something really cool here. If you press Shift F4, that's actually a built-in command to repeat the last find you just did. So it doesn't care that you did something else in the middle by formatting. So yeah, the regular F4 doesn't work, but the Shift F4 is made so you can keep doing the repeat find. So that's a really cool feature there. So if you want to do, let's do a find and replace. So let's go to the PH again. Okay, well, a lot of times we do Ctrl F and then you can tab over to the replace bar. But a quicker way is to actually press Ctrl H. Okay, so we got the PH here, and then we could replace it with whatever we want. Oh, let's do that. We'll replace PH with like AD, whatever that means. Maybe it's Australia or something. So you got to make sure you're on the replace. So you can replace one or you can replace all. Let's just do one. So see how it replaced that PH with an AD? So now we know our find and replace is working. Okay, so one thing that's really useful is to just do one line at a time. Or let's say we had a huge worksheet with tons of data and we wanted to find and replace a bunch of things in it. Doesn't matter if we want to find, replace, or both. So if it's a huge selection, you might want to make sure that you're narrowing down the area you want to find and replace. Not to mention, if it's actually a replace, let's say we want to replace PH. We don't want our replace to go over here and replace the word phantom, because that's not really what we're aiming for. So one thing that's always good to do is a targeted find and replace. And there's a few ways to do that. For one thing, you can get a selection. Like you can get a row or a column, if you remember those. And that's probably what we'll do here. We can also do the filter. If you remember the filter, Ctrl Shift L, and then Alt down. We can filter it, and then we can filter on just the things that we want to see. We're going to really narrow it down in this case, because we want to be careful if we're doing a replace. So let's do that. A simple replace, so Control H, and then we're going to replace that with a D, and then replace all. 7 replacements, just what we wanted. Great. So the next thing we're going to talk about are the wildcard characters. If you haven't seen these already, they're very helpful. So let's open this back up. Let's do a find. But see how we narrowed it down? So we're only looking in this column. So let's say we want to find Tim, but we also want to get names like Tom. So what we would do is put a character skip. The wildcard character is a question mark. So with a question mark, it doesn't care about the second letter. It cares about the first letter, and then the last letter, and then everything else can be anything. So when we put that in there, it allows us to skip it. If we wanted to use the multiple character wildcard to find everything that starts with a certain letter, this is how you do it. We're going to use the letter T. So let's narrow it down, and this selection, press Ctrl F. So we're going to use the find. Let's move this up. You're going to have to open the advanced options, type the T, and then the asterisk. That means everything after the letter T. But in order to really make this one work, you're going to have to match the entire cell contents. And that's important, because if you don't select that box, it's going to pull things that have T and then everything after. Like the word Washington right here would show up with this if you don't check this box. And that's not what we're going for. So let's enter, find the next, find the next. So Tim, Tommy, and Taryn are the results we expected, and those are the results we're getting.